My family ordered $4,000 of lobster, then told me, "You're paying." They regretted it. The waiter placed the bill on the table. Nobody spoke. The number at the bottom was so large that Emily thought she had read it wrong. $4,286.73. She looked at her father, then her mother, then her two older siblings. She waited for someone to laugh and say it was a joke. Instead, her mother slowly pushed the bill across the table. "Emily, you're paying." Emily stared at her. "What?" Her brother laughed. "You heard Mom." Emily looked around the table. They had ordered lobster, crab, expensive steaks, bottles of wine, and desserts. Nobody had asked her before ordering any of it. She had only come because her father said the family wanted to celebrate his birthday. She had expected her father to pay. That had always been how things worked, but tonight was different. Her father leaned back in his chair. "You make enough money. Just take care of it." Emily felt her face getting hot. That was never discussed. Her mother sighed. "Of course it wasn't discussed. We are family." Emily looked at the bill again. For years, she had been the person her family called whenever something went wrong. A late payment, a broken car, a medical bill, a vacation deposit. She had helped them again and again. But this was different. $4,000 was not a small favor, and she had never agreed to pay. The waiter stood nearby, waiting patiently. Emily picked up her purse. "I'm not paying this." The smile disappeared from her brother's face. Her father leaned forward. "You will embarrass this family over a dinner bill?" Emily shook her head. "No. You embarrassed yourselves when you ordered it without asking me." Her mother suddenly became angry. "You have become so selfish." Emily stood up. She placed her card back inside her purse. "I'm sorry you feel that way." Then she walked out. She expected anger. She expected insults. What she did not expect was what happened the next morning. Her phone rang at 7. It was her mother. Emily answered. Her mother didn't say hello. "You have 48 hours to pay that bill." Emily frowned. "Why?" "Because your father promised the restaurant." Emily froze. "I never agreed to anything." Her mother lowered her voice. "You don't understand what you've done." Then she hung up. Emily stared at the phone. Something about her mother's voice bothered her. It wasn't the voice of someone angry about dinner. It sounded like someone who was afraid. And Emily was about to discover why. The calls continued all morning. Her brother called next, then her sister, then her father. Every person gave her the same message. Pay the bill. Nobody apologized. Nobody admitted they had gone too far. Instead, they accused Emily of destroying the family. Her brother told her that she had always been selfish. Her sister reminded her of everything their parents had done for her as a child. Her father said Emily owed the family. That sentence stayed in her mind. She owed the family. Emily had heard those words many times. Whenever she refused to lend money, they reminded her that her parents had raised her. Whenever she questioned a family expense, they said she had forgotten where she came from. But Emily had never counted what she had given them. She had paid for her brother's car repair. She had helped her sister with rent. She had paid for her mother's dental work. She had even helped her father cover a business payment 2 years earlier. She had never asked for the money back. But now, for the first time, she started asking herself a question. How much had she actually given them? That afternoon, Emily opened her bank records. She began going through old transactions. At first, she found nothing unusual. Then she noticed several restaurant charges. Some were places she had never visited. There were hotel payments, shopping charges, a private club membership. Emily stared at the screen. She had not made those purchases. She called her bank. The bank confirmed that some of the transactions had been made using information connected to an old family account. Emily immediately called her father. "Did you use my financial information?" There was a long silence. Then her father said, "Don't accuse your family of stealing." Asked a question. "You're being dramatic." Emily's voice became calm. "I want an answer." Her father hung up. That silence was an answer. Emily called the restaurant. She explained what had happened. The manager listened carefully. Then he said something that made her stomach drop. "Your father has used a family account here before." Emily sat down. What family account? The manager explained that her father had previously used an account connected to several family members. Emily asked whether her name was attached to it. The manager checked. Yes. Emily closed her eyes. She had never opened such an account. The manager continued. There is something else. What? The amount your family discussed with you is not the same as the original record. Emily's heart started beating faster. What do you mean? The original restaurant charge was $4,286.73. That is what I saw. Yes. Then what's different? The manager paused. Your father later asked for a copy showing a different total. Emily went silent. She asked for a copy of the original receipt. The manager agreed to send it. A few minutes later, the email arrived. Emily opened it. The original bill was exactly $4,286.73. Then she opened the photograph her brother had sent her earlier. That bill showed nearly $6,000. Someone had changed the amount. Emily stared at both documents. Suddenly, the dinner did not look like a family celebration anymore. It looked planned. And if the bill had been changed, Emily needed to know what else her family had changed. That night, Emily barely slept. She kept thinking about the dinner, the restaurant, the bill, her mother's strange behavior, her father's silence, the altered receipt. Everything connected somehow. The next morning, Emily began checking old financial records. She found more suspicious charges. Some were small, others were not. There was a hotel bill from a trip she had never taken. There were expensive purchases made on dates when Emily had been working. There were payments connected to her father's business. Emily felt sick. She called her father again. This time, he answered immediately. Stop digging. Emily froze. What did you say? I said stop. Why? Because you don't understand what you're looking at. Emily's voice shook. Then explain it. Her father said nothing. Her mother suddenly joined the call. Emily, please. Emily asked, did you use my name? Her mother started crying. Your father was trying to help the family. That doesn't answer my question. You're making this worse. Emily closed her eyes. For the first time, she realized something. They were not denying it. They were trying to make her feel guilty for discovering it. That afternoon, Emily searched through old paperwork. She remembered a document her father had asked her to sign several years earlier. He had told her it was related to a family business. Emily found a copy. She read it carefully. The document had given her father limited authority over certain financial matters. But there was a problem. The agreement had expired years ago. Yet some of the transactions she had discovered were much newer. Someone had continued using her information after the agreement ended. Emily contacted the accountant who had once worked with her father. At first, the accountant refused to speak. Then Emily mentioned the restaurant bill. There was a long silence. Finally, the accountant said, you need to meet me. They met at a quiet coffee shop. The accountant placed a folder on the table. I should have told you sooner. Emily opened it. Inside were copies of old financial documents. Some carried her name. Some carried her father's signature. One document showed a large unpaid obligation connected to the family business. Emily looked at the accountant. What does this mean? The accountant lowered his voice. They were trying to make you responsible for part of this. Emily's hands became cold. Who? Your father. Emily stared at the documents. The accountant continued. He believed you would sign because you trusted him. Emily looked down at the folder. Then she noticed something else. A note attached to one of the documents. It mentioned the family dinner. Emily's heart stopped. The lobster dinner was not just about dinner. It had been part of a plan. The accountant looked at her and said, do not confront them yet. Why? Because there is more. Emily slowly closed the folder. For the first time, she understood that the $4,000 bill might have been the smallest part of what her family had planned. Emily did not call her family. She did not send angry messages. She did something they never expected. She stayed silent. The next morning, she contacted a lawyer. She showed the lawyer the financial documents. She showed the original restaurant receipt. She showed the altered copy. She showed the old agreement. And she showed the evidence from the accountant. The lawyer carefully reviewed everything. Then he looked at Emily. You were right not to confront them immediately. Emily asked why. Because you need to protect yourself first. The lawyer explained what steps she needed to take. Emily followed every instruction. She changed her financial passwords. She closed old accounts. She removed access that her family no longer had permission to use. She contacted the proper financial institutions. She kept copies of every message. She saved every email. She documented every suspicious transaction. For the first time, Emily felt like she was taking control. But then she found something that hurt more than the money. It was a group message between her brother and sister. They were discussing the dinner. One message from her brother said, "Don't worry. Emily always gives in." Her sister replied, "She'll complain for a day and then pay." Emily read those words again and again. She had spent years believing her family needed her. Now she realized they had simply become comfortable using her. Then she found another message. This one was between her father and brother. It said that if Emily paid the restaurant bill, they could move ahead with the paperwork. Emily stared at the screen. What paperwork? She sent the message to her lawyer. The lawyer reviewed it. Then he found the connection. The dinner had been designed to see whether Emily would still accept financial responsibility when pressured. If she paid, her family planned to use that behavior as proof that she accepted responsibility for other expenses. Emily felt anger rising inside her. But she did not act emotionally. She waited. A few days later, her mother invited her to a family meeting. The message said, "We need to fix this before it becomes worse." Emily read it twice. Then she replied with one sentence. "Okay." Her mother probably thought Emily was coming to apologize. She was wrong. Emily was coming prepared. And this time, she would not be walking into that room alone. The family meeting took place at her parents' house. Everyone was there. Her father sat at the head of the table. Her mother sat beside him. Her brother and sister were across from Emily. Nobody apologized. Her father spoke first. This family cannot survive if everyone acts like this. Emily stayed silent. Her mother said, "We made mistakes, but you embarrassed us." Her brother added, "You could have simply paid the bill." Emily looked at him. Why was the bill changed? Nobody answered. Her father finally said, "That doesn't matter anymore." Emily slowly placed a folder on the table. "It matters to me." Her father looked at it. "What is that?" "Copies of the original restaurant records." His expression changed. Emily continued, "This is the original bill." She placed another document beside it. "And this is the altered version." Her brother stopped smiling. Emily placed another paper on the table. "These are financial records connected to my name." Her mother looked at her father. Emily continued, "And this is the document that was supposed to give Dad temporary authority to handle certain matters." Her father interrupted. "You don't understand legal documents." Emily looked at him calmly. "The lawyer does." Silence filled the room. Emily then revealed the biggest piece. The accountant had kept backup records. Those records showed that her father had discussed transferring a large family debt. The plan was to make Emily responsible for it. The lobster dinner had been a test. If she paid without questioning it, they believed she would continue accepting financial responsibility. Her father stood up. "That is ridiculous." Emily placed the final document on the table. "It isn't." Her brother grabbed the paper. His face changed. He looked at their father. "Dad." Her father said nothing. For the first time, the family understood that Emily knew everything. Her mother started crying. "We were only trying to protect the family." Emily shook her head. "No. You were trying to protect yourselves." Her father became angry. "You are destroying this family." Emily looked directly at him. "No." She paused. "You did that when you decided I was more useful as a bank account than as your daughter." Nobody spoke. Emily stood up. She did not scream. She did not insult them. She simply told them what would happen next. The accounts would be reviewed. The debts would be handled by the people who created them. And Emily would no longer pay for anything she had not agreed to. Her father stared at her. "What are you going to do with all those documents?" Emily picked up her purse. "Exactly what you should have done years ago." She walked toward the door. Her mother called after her. "Emily, please." Emily stopped. For 1 second, she almost turned around. Then she remembered the message. Emily always gives in. She opened the door. This time, she didn't.